Hello, everybody, and welcome back to NDESTE Ireland. And you're welcome to join the group on Facebook called NDESTE Ireland, or to maybe like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is called Noetic Warrior NDESTE Ireland. And today we have my friend and soul sister Yvonne Sneeden, who's going to tell us about her two near-death experiences and some of her learnings after. So I'll just tell you how I met Yvonne first of all. So back in 2020, I was on an online group, Peter Panagor's group, if anybody knows him. And there was somebody in that group who was a similar name to Yvonne. And when you go through Facebook, you see uh, add friend, somebody you may know, add friend. And I did see Yvonne's picture a few times, and I misread Yvonne's surname. And I thought, oh, she must be sister of this person. So I didn't think anything about it. And a few weeks later, I got a friend request on Facebook from Yvonne. So I had to look through her profile and I just decided, okay, she's not crazy. I'll add her as a friend. And then maybe we text each other first a couple of times and then we started talking. And at the time, I had a different Facebook account for a company I was running called the Noetic Center. And my profile picture was a circular labyrinth. And anyway, Yvonne mentioned something about when I sent her a friend request, and I said, no, I didn't send you a friend request. You sent me a friend request. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting how we got to know each other. But Yvonne, do you want to
Yeah,
tell us what happened from your point of view?
of course. I had a dream, a very vivid dream that I consider spiritual. And first of all, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And just thank you also for taking the time out of your own time to listen to my experience. So I really appreciate that. I had a dream that there was a big pool and on the ground of that pool was actually a big crop circle, and it was just looking so beautiful. And then a couple of days later, I get a friend request from somebody whose main picture was a crop circle. Like, okay, so I thought,
The
and
exact
I
same one.
yeah, and that was Charlie. And actually, I accepted a friend request, and apparently he received a friend request. So since then, we've been like brother and sisters. I'm sorry, Trish and Sarah, I'm an additional sister in the family.
Scooch
But
over, Dawn and Trish. We have another sister coming in, born in a different family and in a different country, but never mind
uh,
those circumstances.
we've supported each other and been good friends, just merely good friends, and wishing the best for each other in life. And that's why I'm so happy that today Delphine is here in Charlie's life. It's really a beautiful gift to see that in his life.
Yeah.
So and so we stayed friends, and I have to say that in the US, because in the US it's not as common to have a friend that's from the other gender. In Europe, we can have friends that are men and women similarly, but in the US, there's always kind of, if you start to call each other, it might be considered different, but I just want to reassure everyone we were just good friends.
Yep.
Uh, so, um, so yes, that's what it is, Charlie.
Okay. Well, thank you, Yvonne, for the introduction. So where would you like to start? Would you like to start about your first near-death experience, or would you like to talk about your something about your life and the lead up to that?
I mean, I can quickly give a little summary of my life before it because it led to my NDE, my near-death experience. Actually, I grew up in Belgium, in Brussels, and moved to the US 20 years ago. I grew up with my two sisters in a boarding school, all girls, Catholic boarding schools, and my parents were too busy traveling to make money, and they just kind of park us there for 10 years. We never saw our parents for 10 years. And but they were paying double for during the vacation time for the three sisters to stay there. We were the only ones staying in that boarding school. So I grew up with the best education, good fancy school, but didn't have the parental love. And later on, when I was a young teenager, they divorced. And so they just decided uh, they hadn't developed like an emotional bond with us. So they decided the other one was going to take care of us, and nobody did eventually. And so they just dropped from the surface of the earth. And my two sisters and I kind of separate each other to survive. One of them went with a boyfriend, the other one with a roommate in the north of Belgium. And then I was by myself at the age of 16, really literally on my own, no parents, nobody, in a city that's as big as Washington, D.C., Brussels. And I just had to survive and find jobs, work, and I put myself through college. I just thought that if everybody had forgotten me, everyone had literally forgotten me. I was on my own. And but I went through high school and college, and I said to myself, if everybody has forgotten me, I will show the world I'm somebody. And that's how I worked at night, weekend, all kind of odd jobs to get money to survive and to go and put myself through college. The good thing in Belgium is that colleges are free, so I was able to go to college and but weekend and summer vacation, I just had to work to survive. And so fast forward, college is over. I meet somebody, and I start to work at the Royal Thailand Embassy. So from having nothing and being forgotten from by everybody, right after college, I landed a job of marketing officer at the Royal Thailand Embassy in Brussels for a few years. Then after that, I met somebody. We both discovered a newfound spirituality, which was for us, for me, was connected to Christ, to Christianity. That's how I reconnected myself with spirituality. I had left everything after the boarding school because the main nun was a horrible person, and she was so hard and mean that after I left the boarding school, I said, there is no God, there's nothing. It's me, my survival. There's no spirituality. It's only us. But a few years later, I guess I was at the embassy, better life, great in a relationship. And so I reconnected with, and the way I reconnect was actually for me what I knew better, which was Christ because of my upbringing. And I read some of the Gospels words, and I found out Christ's love for me. I said, somebody loves me. Somebody loves me unconditionally. And so I just find it. We went to Bible college, him and I. For a few years, I was in the ministry, in a Christian ministry. I'm a reverend. I could be a reverend today if I wanted. And then after that, unfortunately, with life and all the rigor that you have when you are in a Christian environment and church. So we kind of grew apart, even though we were both working in a ministry for everyone. It was just the best time of my life. I could see people so encouraged. We would have a food bank and everything. And eventually we divorced. And in the church, when you divorce, you are ostracized and you're even stoned. I mean, back then it was a big scandal. If you were in the ministry and then you divorced, it was just horrible. You were no longer considered holy. And so that was a big, so after that, fast forward, I go back to Brussels because, oh, I forgot to say the Bible college and all my time there was actually in France. And the ministry time a few years as well was in France as well. So after the divorce, I go back to Belgium and so reconnect my life the best I can. I worked for a lobby at the European Union. So because of my background, professional background, I was able to find a good job. And while I'm there, I went to an American church because I was well known as a minister in the French-speaking world. So I didn't want to be recognized and then, get all the comments and everything. So over there, nobody knew me. It was an American church, most American expat. So, which was really a time of healing for myself. And then a couple of years later, I met an American man, which is the reason why I moved to the US. So we got married, and when I was in Belgium, he was amazing. He was the Prince Charming. He was just kind of so amazing. And so then he went back to the US. I was in Belgium. We can back and forth relationship, and he would send me flowers every week, flower gifts and everything. All my friends were saying, "Oh my God, you really met the Prince Charming. He's so amazing." And so we got married and moved to the US because there's always one that moves from one place to another. And generally, for some reason, it's the woman moving to the country, making the sacrifice of moving. So I had that fancy job. I had my friends, my family. I was happy. So I was in love as well. And I thought, and I just moved to the US. So, Unfortunately, after a few months, and that's what led to my NDE. That's why I'm sharing all those points. And I was in a country, and then I had a daughter who I was in a country where I didn't know anyone, and I was in a very abusive relationship suddenly with a man, and I wasn't used to that. No one around, any support. So eventually, as I was still very, I had developed a spirituality and prayers, and I was really visualizing and praying for my my freedom. I was so afraid to leave him, and a few weeks later, he told me, "I think we need to divorce," and I pretended I was so desperate and sad, but in myself, in my mind, I was like, hallelujah, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, it's so sad. We are both amazing people, but we can get along together. Isn't that sad? And his entire family, three sister, mother, parents, all of them were on my side. They said, if our son cannot make you happy, no one can, because the entire family has fallen in love with you. And so that was just amazing. So we divorced. And so I found myself alone with my daughter in a country I didn't know, didn't have friends. I found a job in public diplomacy here because of my background, so I found a good job. But I had to reinvent myself, find how the healthcare system worked, the banking, everything is completely different than when I was in Belgium. But I rebuilt. I had, always my faith that was sustaining me. I had a deep faith in God, and so I just was able to find strength inside myself um, and join a church. And because of that, I created a new friendship, new people. But in a way, suddenly I started to, because it was a big, I had gone through a lot for the last few years, and I was working hard to make sure that my daughter had the same opportunities as every other kids in America. So I was really working day and night, bringing her to all the events and activities that she could have. I wanted her to be happy, and so because of that, I developed arrhythmia. I started to develop arrhythmia in my heart, and more and more so, which started to frighten me because I don't know if you know what arrhythmia is, but it's really your heart racing and you cannot stop it. You can try to lay down to count, there is nothing. It's just going to race and it can be life-threatening if it's not healed. So in that case, I went to the cardiologist because I was really worried. And put a monitor checking for a few days, and then he told me that I had arrhythmia, and he gave me some medication to take when I had a crisis, an attack. So at the same time, similar, at the same time as that, I also felt within my heart and my soul and my mind that I had reached the end. I was not suicidal or angry or sad or depressed, but I had felt that I had reached the end of anything I could endure on earth, that, like a battery that dies. I felt like the battery of my body and my heart was at the end of what I could take. And I knew that I knew so well that I was going to die. I was totally 100% sure. So I called my sister in Belgium, and I said to my sister, Mimi, her name is Mimi. I said, Mimi, uh, I think I'm gonna die. I can feel it. I feel it and then I said to her, but don't you worry. Don't worry about me. Don't worry. I'm gonna die, but don't worry. Like as if it was nothing, I can imagine her mind when I said, don't worry, I'm gonna die, but don't worry.
I've
And
met your sister, so I can just imagine her response.
yes, you can imagine that, right? And she was totally concerned, and at the same time, because I knew I was going to die, I started to buy beautiful, clothes and nice pajama to be decent when I die, so that people wouldn't freak out finding me, so that at least they would find me in a decent. When you die, when you know you're going to die, you have all those crazy thoughts. I mean, who would even, and that was in 2008, so I was still young and all kind of a bit vain, you
At
know.
least you would look good.
And and then yeah, it's really like this is it. This life is over. That's what I felt in my soul. This is it. And like when you say, okay, I've been skiing for 10 years, but now I want to dive. I want to do some diving and it was like, okay, I'm shifting to something else. I could feel it. And so my first near-death experience was I had taken the medication one evening where I didn't have an attack. So my heart wasn't racing, but I was so terrorized to have an attack because it's not fun at all. That evening I said, well, you know what? I'm going to take so that I'm sure I'm not going to have an attack and I can relax and then have a nice evening and have a nice night. Good night. And I took the medication, and later on at Duke Hospital, which is a big hospital where I live, they confirmed that this medication was the reason. I suddenly, so I took the medication and I went to bed. I was reading something, and suddenly, I feel like I'm out of my body. And I'm looking down to my lifeless body on my bed. Then I turn around in my spirit form, totally at peace, like everything is normal. I turn around and I see at the end of my bed, I see two amazingly handsome, beautiful spirit of light. They were both wearing a white long dress of light. They had blondish, whitish hair, curly, short, and they both looked identical. They were looking like angelic beings, and they were both looking identical, like cloned from each other, like twins, but perfect ones. And and the way what they were expressing was actually, "Hi, Krista, my love." Do you know the story? Thank you for supporting me. Thank you. And so those two beings were there, and what they were emanating was actually the highest level, the divine level of presence, the highest level. We can say creator, God, light, whatever is comfortable for you. But that was actually what they were representing. They were there as escorts or soldier of the lights full of glory, full of light. And telepathically, they told me, Yvonne, it's time to go. We are leaving. And I felt it was totally normal while my daughter was actually sleeping in the other room. But when you're in the spirit form, you're in a different state. It's almost like what was happening in my life on earth had closed behind me, the curtain had closed, and I was suddenly in a state of amnesia. I didn't remember I had a daughter. I was living the present moment. And I felt that it was totally normal to go with those two beings. And what I have to mention was that behind those two beings of light, that was I had two indeed. This one is my first one. Behind that there was a spaceship. I promise you it was a spaceship. There was a spaceship in the background. It was a white pearly oval, white pearly, like you have a nice plate that's oval like that. It was just oval, white, pearly white oval, and it was open like a seashell. It was just open like that. And it was behind them and said, Yvonne, we are telepathically, Yvonne, it's time to go. And I said, yes, like it's totally normal to go and leave my daughter. And I said, yes. And so we proceeded towards the spaceship. And I was in the middle. They were both on my side, like protective. They were on my side. And when I was with them, surrounded with them, I knew, I knew that nothing in the entire cosmos, in the entire dimensions, could ever affect me or attack me or hurt me because they had that presence that was superseding everything, that was coming from creation itself, from Creator itself. And so we went inside the spaceship, and there were three seats. There were three seats. So I sat in the middle of the spaceship of the seats, and they both sat on each side. They never talked to me after that one sentence, say, Yvonne, it's time to go. They were they were like soldier of God, a soldier of the light, because they were full of that one single mission. They have to pick me up and drop me somewhere. Yeah, yeah, a little bit like you see when you see on TV president or royalty, and that's what we all are. We are all royalty in the spirit world. And so you see those soldiers, and then you see they are just there, and they have that one single look that I'm here to protect. That's exactly how they were. They were just there to protect and one single mission, and they wouldn't go around that mission. But I felt safe at the same time. And so we went in the spaceship. The top closed. The being to my right, with his hand, moved like a type of handle. And when he did that, we crossed the entire universe in 1 second. I don't know if you've seen those science fiction movies where you see that's exactly what it was. And back then, I wasn't at all into science fiction or at I, because in the Christian world I was, everything that was aliens or extraterrestrial was from the devil. So I never even occupy my mind with it because so but honestly it was just moving and I can still feel how it feels to be in space. I can still feel it. So it was like 1 second, 1 second, and we moved and arrived in a realm, an area that was completely illuminated. Everything was illuminated, and there were about 20 beings of light that were waiting for me. They were not in a white robe; they were in a normal suit, but they were all made of light, which means that the inside was not bones or flesh or anything. it was light. So it was like when you have a bulb of light and then it comes out. So the whole body was like that. It was just the light was emanating all around. And they were so happy to see me. They were so happy. They said, "She's here. She's here. She's here. She's back." And saying she's back because in my faith, uh, I was taught that you never existed before and you're just born on earth. And suddenly, when they were saying she's back, I knew that later on, when I came back, I realized that I existed before Earth, and this was actually my real family. I was so excited. This was my tribe, my real family, and I was just so excited. And what I had experienced on Earth felt like a very bad dream, a nightmare. It felt so bad, and I was so relieved. I was so relieved because I knew it was a nightmare and it was not a reality. I said, "Oh my goodness, oh my," like when we all have a nightmare and you wake up in the morning and you're just so excited that it was just a nightmare, not a reality. Well, that's how I felt. I felt, "Oh my God, I'm so happy. This is not real. This is not real. I'm so happy. Oh my God." And everybody was so happy and surrounding me with love and kindness. Hey, hey, hey. What, like when you're on your birthday and you're the star of the day because it's your birthday and everybody's around you. That was exactly how it felt. They were welcoming me and they were so kind. We all sat, everything was made of light. The furniture, the floor, you had light coming from the inside out. Everything was made of divine solid light. It was God. I could feel God all around and everything and in us, through us. It was everywhere. And and so they were like, "Do you need anything?" And they were trying to give me, "Do you want something? How can I help you?" And the beauty of it, it's that in that world, everyone is like that with each other. Everyone is the other. The other is the priority. Unlike Earth, where we're all about me, 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 over there, it's all about the other. How can I help the person? How can I make that person happy? That's the highlight of that world. So they were all like, "Oh, what do you want? What can I help you with?" And then at some point of that big family reunion, uh, that being of light came towards me, also a female woman, and she seems like she was more a higher rank, kind of. But in that world, it's filled with love. It's not like here, oh, we are higher rank, suddenly you're beneath. No, it was like a higher rank, maybe a spirit that had evolved longer. And she came towards me and she took my face like that in her hands. And she said, "Oh, Yvonne, your experience on planet Earth is such a difficult one." And I said, "Yeah, yes, it is. It is. It's horrible." But she said, "But you have to go back. You have to go back because that container, which is your body on Earth, will not be able, won't be able to reintegrate it if you stay too long. You have to go back." And I was totally obedient. In that world, that whatever higher beings or God or any angelic beings, when they are talking to you, you know that it's the right thing. Here on earth, we all are kind of, "Oh no, I prefer these." And over there, it's such an order, a loving order that everything seems in place. And so I said, "Yes, I have to go back. I have to go back." And when I said that, those two beings of light were back. And and then the same way we went in between I was in between them. We went inside that spaceship, we closed it, and in 1 second we crossed back to Earth. And that was my first one. So when I came back to my body, I thought, what was just that? What did just happen? But at the same time, I was excited because I had been to the world of a world of love, a world of kindness, and I said, "This is amazing." Um, a few, t- a few like a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks later, I was still, like, you know, even though I had had that experience, I was still having those arrhythmia. And then I took the medication again. Didn't do, it's only after the second one that I inquire with Duke because I was wondering what was happening to me. And they confirmed that 100% my heart stopped. And so, so I'm there the afternoon, all holy Christian, reading my Bible, and then I had taken the medication, and suddenly I feel, but it was so fast. I feel my organs shutting down, and at the same time, I'm instantly inside God's magnificent, incredibly joyous, incredibly loving, and peaceful light. I am inside the creator of the matrix of creation, light of love. And I experienced the highest level. I was there in the highest level of joy and happiness that ever existed. And I'm basking in that light as a spirit, as a being, as a soul with no worry at all, no anxiety. Everything on earth, even a doubt or a thought of a contradiction, all that are actually emotions that are birthed in fear and in that dimension, in the heaviness of this dimension. But over there, we were no longer in this dimension. I was in the presence of creation itself, the creator itself. So there was only positive, only love. And I was just basking in that. And as I was just basking in that amazing light, suddenly I see coming from a distance a translucent being of light. And that spirit was even brighter than the light itself. It was just above like that and in a distance, and it just hovered towards me. I could only make up the outline of it. And it was just hovering very elegantly, very gently towards me. And then when it arrived above me, it looked at me with so much admiration and love and pride, just like a mother, just like a mother look at her firstborn baby with so much pride, but also care and admiration and joy and delicate because the baby's so delicate. So that's all the feeling I could see that being was doing to me, and that being was kissing me all over my face, just like a mother kissed the firstborn baby. And it was just amazing. And at some point, that being engulfed me. And imagine we are in the light. This being is light in a light form. I'm in light form. And we are just merging in that energy of love. And when that being holds me, the voice of the creator of God was downloaded in my own mind, and it said, "This is Jesus." And when it was said, I felt that Jesus was not a male or a female. It was he had that Jesus had the love of a mother and a father in one unit. He was transmitting the perfect parental love, not the parents that have harmed us or hurt us. He was the ideal parent of love that was holding me and hugging me. And you remember, I didn't feel that on earth. I had never received any parental love because I saw my parents 3 times in my life, very shortly. And so I was showered with that parental love, the real one. And at some point, I just I felt that I was basking with, like a child when they're in their parents' arm, they don't have any fear because they think the world, those parents are invincible and they will protect you from the world when you're with the ideal parents. And I felt that, but I also felt in my soul that at some point I will have to come back to Earth. And I didn't like that knowing. I didn't like that knowing of you'll have to go back to that horrible planet. I didn't like that knowing. But so the more I was showered with that love, and when I was showered with that love, I also could feel all the planets and all the galaxies and dimension behind. It was like at the same time as I was experiencing Christ's love, I was aware, I had the awareness of everything that is has been created around. I could feel it at the same time. And at some point, I said to Jesus, I don't want to go back to Earth. I said, that planet is so violent. I can't relate with that planet. It's such a violent planet. Uh, People are so mean. I said, and selfish. Everyone, I said, many, not us. No, there are many beautiful people, but many people are mean and selfish, and could care less of other people. I said, I can't relate to that world. I don't want to go back. And then, but I could feel that Jesus was looking at me like, I'd love for you to stay, but you have to go back. Like, but then I said to him, if I have to go back, I was, after my divorce with that horrible man. I'm sorry, I don't have to say that because he probably was going through his own life journey. So I'm sorry about that. He probably is experiencing his own journey and his own learning. And but after I just dated again another Christian man. And actually, the funny thing is that when I was in the church, we always had to ask God, what is your will? Whenever we always are so fearful of everything, is that the will of God? Do I have to do that? Is that your will? If I meet somebody, is it your will? Is it the man that actually you have for me? Or whenever you do something, and at the end, we create like a fear within it because we think that everything, if we don't do the will of God, He's gonna, we're not gonna be blessed. While I think God says, just be happy. I'll be with you in whatever happiness you have. And uh, so when I knew I was having to come back, I asked Jesus, if you send me back to earth, uh, what do I have to do with that person name? That person, I used to call him Steve, and I apologize for any person that is named Steve, but I'm gonna call that person Steve. I said to Jesus, what do I have to do with Steve if I go back? Uh, we Because again, I was in another relationship here in the US, and it wasn't working well again. And so I asked, what do I have to do? Because I thought, is it the will of God, even though it's not a happy one? And if there's a will of God, I'm going to stay in the relationship. And at that moment, Jesus stood up in the air, went there in the air, took a form that I was starting to see his feature more. And he opened a screen. A screen appeared. He made a screen appear. And on that screen, there were two square, like a form that you fill, and then you have square that's, they have to tick. And there was a square, one was a yes, and the other one was a no. And Jesus looked, and then he actually clicked on the no. And then he said to me, you have to say no, like no to the relation. You have to say no. And at the same time, he was saying that to me. He actually was showing how much love he had for Steve. He was showing me that love was love for everyone. Love was for everyone. And after that, he came back next to me, and I did ask some questions, and one of the questions I asked to Jesus, because I just didn't like, I didn't connect with Earth anymore. For me, Earth was one of the many, many planets of existence that I had just had a journey on. And I asked Jesus, why are people racist on Earth? Because obviously, I had decided to take a body with a color to come to Earth. And so I was just asking random. I didn't understand now that I was a spirit where everyone is united. We all look alike. We're all beings of light, all looking the same. What differentiates us is the level of light we have in us. But we are all light. And but for my incarnation on earth, I had taken a different color. And I asked Jesus, why are people racist on that planet? Why that's happening? Because I obviously maybe on other planet it's not happening, or being maybe they all look alike. I don't know. And Jesus said he came, and then he came to the background like that, and with actually a very neutral way. There was no judgment or no condemnation. Jesus said, it's because of their self-centeredness, self-centering, which means he explained that, when we when we want when the first focus of our life is us, me, it's me. And racism is in all direction because I've traveled the world. I've been to Asia, Africa, all over Europe, Latin America, the US, and I've seen racism in all the direction, not only one race. So I'm not pointing finger to anyone. I'm a mixed person myself. My dad is Caucasian. And so I'm not pointing finger, but it's in all the direction. And so when the focus of our life is us, always us, me, it's me. So everything I do, or everyone I am surrounded with, I want them to remind them of me unconsciously. They need to, because that's my safety net. If they look like me, if they do things like me, then I'll feel safe, I'll feel comfortable. We're centering on ourselves. When we get that, when we are at the point of our life where we can actually focus on others first, then we have that ability to change that. And the fear inside is actually going away. And then we can embrace what's different. So that was really interesting. And I forgot to say as well that um, I asked Jesus why my relationship with that Steve wasn't working. And he had said that it's because Steve had decided to experience his life on earth through his mind primarily, and that I had decided to live my life on earth through my heart primarily, and the two would not match together. When people say opposite attracts, oh, opposite attracts, and so I don't know if it's always true, because when Jesus said that we would clash, when it's too much of a difference, I don't think it's healthy. You can have a good journey when you are actually have at least some commonality. That's my opinion and my experiences as well. And so eventually we moved out of that light. Jesus and I moved out of the light, and as we proceeded outside of the light, in front of me, I saw a celestial city, a crystal city. Everything was made of the building were made of huge building. They were so shining that they looked like gold, but like a translucent gold. It was so beautiful, and the street was so wide, and I could see like the sky was extremely blue, but there was no sun. And it was just the most magnificent city. I was so excited because I felt I was going home. I knew I was going home, so I was just walking fast. Jesus had come to my left, and now he had taken some feature that I could see now. I could see his eyes, his nose, his mouth. I could see his hair. He was now having a white gown. In that world, everyone has a white robe. And then we were proceeding towards that city of light, and I was so excited. I was really excited. I was like, "Oh my God, you have to know that in that world, everything is experienced to the highest level of energy and of light and of excitement and of joy. Everything there's it's freedom. On earth, we have learned to shrink our emotions, to shrink who we are, because we know that society here expects you to be a certain way. So as an adult, we kind of have put that freedom inside that box within ourselves because that's what's the correct things to do. But on the other side, it's just like rejoice and everybody's walking and doing things at the highest level. And it reminds me that in the US, when I go to some meditation places, everyone has to be very, very, very silent. And then if you drop something, everyone's looking at you. But in heaven, in heaven, everyone, it's just a rejoice. It's like we are free. And so I'm walking towards that amazing celestial city, and then I feel like people are coming on my right, like when you're in the street walking and then somebody's coming. And suddenly I look around and I see those 10 years old, between 9 and 11 years old, uh, children angels. They had white robes, small wings. That's why they were angels. There are many entities in that world, but the ones I saw were angels because they had small wings. And I always wonder when I came back, why do they have small wings? Because we see all the pictures. And then somebody told me something that was really making sense. They said, well, it's because they were closed wings, they were not open. And it's true that on the pictures, we always show the angel with or any with those big wings, like when they're, but wings are when we are moving around. And that's what somebody said. I said, oh my God, it makes sense. So they were working there. They had a very circular face, uh, like bronze, and the hair was silverish curly up to here. I always like to give visuals to people. And a white robe. And so here they are also in that energy walking towards that city, very animated, very happy. And then one of them look at me on the way, and then it sees me and it said, "Oh, like there's nothing to look at. It's Yvonne, like no surprise or something." And then he looked next to me and see Christ. And when he saw Christ, his face shone, suddenly became pure light. When I say light, it's pure light. And when there were a dozen of angels. When the other ones saw it, they actually also shone their light, and they all ran into Jesus' arms. And Jesus took them all into his arms with so much love, so much kindness, so much goodness. When Jesus had me in his arm, I felt kindness, tenderness, gentleness, affection, unconditional love. There was no religion. There was no, oh, I'm from this religion. It was unconditional love. And that's what he was also giving to those children angels. And at some point, he looked at them with so much love, so much inclusivity, without rejection. And he said with a very kind voice, "This is Yvonne's moment. This is Yvonne's moment. Go back to your mothers." And when I looked where the kids now, it was the children angel, were going to, I saw that they were going towards women angels. There were like 10 or 12 women angels. They were like 14 feet high. Uh, they were magnificent with long hair down to the knees, with white robe and all kind of different color shades. And they were looking at me with so much purity, so much kindness, so much reverence and purity. And they told me, "Yvonne, we will never hurt you. We will never harm you." And you know how much I'd been hurt in life. We will never hurt you. We will never harm you because you're home. You are one of us. We will never. And so when they said that, I think the reverence that they had a lot of reverence. It's probably because Jesus was next to me, but also I do think it's because in that world, everybody treats each other with reverence, with consideration, with love, with unconditional love, because we are bathing in unconditional love. That's all the energy is in that world. And so after that, I said to Jesus, I really don't want to go back to earth. I said, I'm here, I'm home. I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay. I don't want to go back. That planet is violent. I cannot relate to that world. I want to stay here. And then Jesus said, I thought he would say, yes, come on, you can stay, come home. But instead, he was again looking at me like, I'd love for you to stay, but you can't. And so maybe because I hadn't finished my mission on Earth, probably, or my learning, what I had to learn. And as I was insisting, I said, anyway, look at that body on Earth. It's beyond repair. I said, I don't want to go back in that body. I can't go back in that body. I was really, really trying. And when I saw that nothing was working, I told Jesus, I said, Jesus, I said, if you send me back to earth, I will be beyond exhaustion. I will be beyond exhaustion. I can't do it anymore. I can't. And when I said that, Jesus suddenly moved up in the air. We were transported into another realm, another world, another place. And that place was actually um, a black velvety place. Just imagine the cosmos without stars. But it's a very peaceful place. It's not like when, you're in a dark room here, you just, I cannot see. Over there, it was just peaceful. And we are just standing like that it's like as if you were standing in the cosmos. There, you are not under the law of gravity at all in that world. You can stand wherever you want. The law of gravity is here for Earth. So here I am standing in that place that looks like the cosmos, but without fear or anything. And Jesus is actually in that place, and he's suddenly expanding. He's expanding like half a mile high. He's becoming that huge beings, and all his feature is becoming energy of light. His arms and his face, everything is now streams of light. And then I see his eyes on me, incredible eyes looking on me like that. And then he says, everything in that world happens telepathically. And I would even say not more than telepathically, because telepathically is that you send a thought, you receive the thought. It's from knowing to knowing. You know instantly what's happening. You know inside you. And so we are there in that space where Jesus is half a mile high, and and I'm looking at him, and I say him because we all think of Jesus as him, but it was a it. So I look at him, and and his eyes is on me, and he 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 said, "Even lift your hand," and I lift my hand, and he put his finger on mine like that. Even though he was very high, as I said, it's streams of energy and of light. He can touch me wherever he is. And so and then he says, Yvonne, I will give you my power. I'll give you my strength. I will give you my energy of life. Because he knew I had no energy to go back to life. I was done. Since I was a kid, I had been struggling, having all those tribulations. There was no way I had energy to keep going on earth. And he said, Yvonne, I'll give you my strength. I'll give you my energy of life. So that in a word, so that I was able to continue on earth. And when he said that and he touched my finger like that, I suddenly have I was going to say in French, avalanche.
Yeah, avalanche in English
an
as well.
avalanche of, we say the same word in English?
Avalanche, yeah.
There's an avalanche of sparkling energy that actually fill my entire beings. I can feel it filling my, regenerating my body on earth and my spirit. And actually, what I could sense, what I could feel is that all that sparkling energy, gold is white, energy, spark of energy, and so just fusing together and energy like moving around, and that was filling all my beings. I could feel each individual cell of my body being regenerating with those spark of light. And I could feel every bone, every muscle, every nerve, every cell being regenerating. And I felt it all at once. I could feel it coming in. And when that was done, it stopped at my ankle. And I'll never know why it stopped at my ankle. I could feel it stop at my ankle. And when it stopped, then Jesus came back from that. He shrinked back into a normal size. And then he came and hugged me from behind like that. Then he removed himself and then came in front of me. And he was that being of light again, that was there next to me when, and he was just, his whole feature were so filled of light, even more of light than I had seen before after that moment. And he said to me, Yvonne, I love everybody. I mean, he meant above religion because I was, my faith was a Christian faith. And in that faith, we actually oftentimes have that feeling of elitism. We are the ones saved and everybody else goes to hell. There is that feeling. But Jesus was above everything. He was unconditional love and he was loving everybody. He was loving everybody the same, equally. We were all loved the same. Love was love. There is no variation in love. Love was for everyone at the same measure. And he was telling me that he said, I love everybody. I love everything and everybody. He said, I love my babies. I love my babies. And I thought, of course you do. Of course you do. You're Jesus. When you came to earth, your mission was to show us God's love, how to love like God loves, how to be that love like God loves to others. You were showing us a model to follow. And and not, I'm not talking about any dogma that has been imposed in churches and everything. We are beyond that. We are in the realm of unconditional love of Christ. And so I said, of course you love it. That's what I was thinking as he was telling me that. And then he said, I will show you how I love, how I love. And when he said that, he took my heart, or can I say, it took my energy, my essence, who Yvonne is in her essence form, and he blended it with his essence. He merged us together, and we became one. There is a scripture in for sometimes Christians say, well, but it was Jesus, you cannot be. There is a scripture in John, and I don't know where in John, I'm not good with where it was, but in John, and I think it's John 14 or it's 7:14, I don't remember, where Jesus says to God in his prayer, let there be one, like you and I are one. And so that's exactly what I felt. I felt that I felt the oneness with Jesus. I was one, and for a few seconds, I was Jesus because he wanted me to feel how unconditionally He loved everything and everybody. He loved every soul, regardless of social, regardless of religion, regardless of color, regardless of if you have money or no money, regardless of what religion you are, or spirituality you are. He was loving unconditionally, and he was also loving everything that was created, everything that was created on earth, every animal, every plant, but also everything in the cosmos and everything in every single realities and every single dimension. Everything was loved by him. It was love. It was love. He was unconditional love itself. And there was no way he couldn't love anything but everything. And I was feeling all those emotions as I was part of Christ. When I was Christ for a second, I could feel those billions of waves of unconditional love for everything and everyone. I was that love with Christ. And it was just the most amazing. It's very hard to explain that in human words. But it was just fantastically joyful and loving and compassionate and celebrating every single thing that exists. And after that glorious moment, um, we demerged. He demerged me, and and that was it. I knew that my time in heaven, I call it heaven, my time in heaven with Christ was over, and I had to come back to earth, and there was no negotiating anymore. That was it. He had regenerated me so that I could go back on earth, and I felt my spirit come back from dimension to different dimension realms, and then reintegrating my body through my head, and was back in my body. When you have experienced that, your life is transformed. After that, when I came back, I was open to everybody. I had my own faith, but I was now open also to every other faith, every other people. And then I joined some groups here that are focusing on near-death experience, and I met so many beautiful spirits, so many people that have had near-death experiences, have had their own journey in the afterlife. Like for example, my dear friend, she just had to leave. She was a moment here. It was actually. Uh, she was just here, she just left. But so I met so many, and I met Anne Francis there too, who has created an amazing blog on unconditional love. All it is love. So that's how I met so many beautiful people. And I was so privileged to live in the US because they have so many organizations because that have studied the phenomena of near-death experience and have understood, and there's a big community here of people. And even though everybody has experienced different things, the commonality of all of us is that we have experienced unconditional love. And we know that that is the main force that exists in the universe and everywhere. And so that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Being an empath and feeling that all over again. And I remember, well, actually, Krista Gorman was there earlier on, and I saw her first on Amazon Prime.
Krista, yeah, Krista was she's a
Can't
very
remember.
dear friend, very dear friend.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the famous actor who interviewed her. Morgan Freeman
Morgan
interviewed
Freeman.
her. Yes, yeah, yeah. And then I met you a few months later, and then I realized you were both friends, so there was a connection there. But the first time I heard your story was on a one-to-one WhatsApp call. So I was your only audience, and I was really mesmerized. And I said to you, you brought that love of Christ back with you because I can feel it and feel it every time. And we met for the first time around New Year in
Yeah,
Brussels,
yeah,
and sure, all of you can feel her Yvonne's vibe through Zoom here, but in her presence, my God, it's very, very high vibrational. And I remember doing when I was doing the course to awaken as a healer with Almira back in May, she was talking about angelic beings being so high vibrational compared to human beings or your average human being. And listen, Yvonne is no average human being. And then I thought of the one of the women angels saying you're one of us. So maybe you are. But I just wrote down a couple of things. I know it's hard to remember all the details, but when you said that Christ made himself really tall, half a mile high, and was healing you at the same time he was creating universes. So I just find that awesome. And I imagine that's like when you're on the phone and you're making toast at the same time for a human being.
Yes.
Yeah, but what else did I say? Oh yes, you met somebody then. Oh, can I just tell everyone as well? Yvonne encouraged me to get this group going, so I probably wouldn't have done it only for Yvonne's encouragement. So I think it was a few years later you met somebody at one of the IONS conferences, and you recognized each other.
Yes, do you want me to quickly share that?
Yeah, and I know there's other things you want to talk about, but I just thought this was an amazing story as well. So tell us what happened about your friend from the Netherlands.
Yeah, so a few years later, I found an organization called IANS that actually focus on near-death experiences. And I went to their first conference in Arizona, in Scottsdale, near Phoenix. It was my very first my very first time that I was going to be with other people that had the same experience. And now I have been kind of a bit often interviewed, not to be boasting because it's not the purpose, but I've been interviewed a few times so people could have hear my story. But back then, uh, nobody had heard anything. I was just my very first time. Nobody had heard my story. And Krista, I just mentioned you. I see that you're back. I just mentioned you as an amazing friend. I just mentioned you as an amazing friend. Oh, she just yeah. I mentioned you. I mentioned you as an amazing, my amazing close friends that also had a near-death experience. And Charlie mentioned that you were in a. Morgan Freeman interviewed you in a film documentary. So we mentioned you a few
Oh,
months
my
ago.
battery died on my laptop, so I
Oh,
just put it back
that's
on.
okay. That's okay, my friend. I'm now asked to tell how I met Sabine and Arnold. When I was in Phoenix, Arizona, the very first IONS, I've never met anyone else beside the people of IONS here in Durham, where I live. Not Durham, UK, but Durham, United States. And uh, s- I hear some people speak Dutch. And I'm like, oh, what? Europeans. Because when you live in the US and you meet a European, it's like a big celebration. In Europe, we think that we're all so very different. But then when you're in the US, you feel like there's a European spirit. So it was like, okay, European. And so I talked to them. It was Sabine, who lives in the Netherlands, and her husband, and then Bob Coppes, who is on the board of IONS. And I went to talk to them because I was happy they were from Europe. And then we all decided to go for a meal and dinner together. And so Sabine, that lady that from the Netherlands, sit next to me, and she looks at me, and then she says, "I've seen you during my NDE. I've seen you in the city, the Crystal City." And you were with children angels and Jesus. And nobody had known that. So I knew she was telling me the truth because nobody knew about that. She said, I've seen you there. Because you see, I see myself going towards this celestial city, and then the scene, and then suddenly I'm in the other space. Because when you have a near death experience, a lot of things that you have experienced are blocked from your earthly memory so that you can move on earth. Otherwise, if you remember all your near death experience, I think you just stay on standby waiting to die because it's like so I was going inside, and then suddenly I'm in that black velvety space. So what happened inside is that Sabine saw me inside the crystal city with children angel, and she said that I was talking to those children angel and telling them what I was doing on earth. and how I was going to help people feel better with themselves, with their emotion, encourage them. And Sabine passed by, and then we looked at each other and we said, we're going to meet on earth. We're going to meet on earth. And God told her when she was inside God's light, God told her that in about 10 years, she was going to meet somebody with a olive complexion and black hair. I have black hair, but with my youth, I kind of light them up. So, so that's the story. Isn't it amazing? And since then, we've stayed so close, she and I. She called
Yeah.
me Twinny, Twinny.
Yeah, and in her experience, she saw Muhammad, Buddha, Lao Tse, and Jesus all together.
Yeah,
I think
she
having a
told.
conversation about what they would do if they went back to Earth.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
was amazing.
yeah. She's
So
so yeah.
that's quite a turnaround for someone who was born again Christian and preaching the Gospels, and then suddenly you see way beyond all that.
I still love Christ a lot and still love God with all my heart.
I know.
I just have opened to other peoples as well now,
Yeah.
and all expressions, because I do think that any expression that connects you with God or creation or creator or source is actually uh, amazing.
Yes, yeah. And there were other things you wanted to talk about as well. Do you want to go into that? Maybe before we go into questions?
Uh, for example, what I learned from all that near-death
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, so what I did learn is from being somebody who I was always a kind person. I'm not saying that, I think we have to recognize who we are. Here in this room, everyone is a kind person. Otherwise, we wouldn't be who we are and connected with who we are. We all kind people. But through my own faith doctrine, sometimes I had become quite judgmental and always self-condemning and also always kind of judging others in if they were not holy. So that changed drastically. I completely understood and accepted everyone for who they were, finding the reason behind everything, celebrating, finding all. And that's why I correct myself earlier, saying that American husband I had was in his journey too, instead of just accepting, seeing beyond fear, beyond imposed dogma that society is. It's going above all that, where in every situation, staying at the space of love. And we're all tempted, whether it's what we hear on the news, what we see on TV, and everything. We're all tempted to absorb the energy of fear within us, the energy of despair within us. But if we remember that we are those eternal beings and we are here just for a time, temporarily, this earth is not our final home. It's a home that we are taking to experience our journey, our human journey. So if we can elevate ourselves above it and look through the eyes of unconditional love and peace, and remember, that's what I felt, that I remembered that I was here like everyone who is in this room, because everyone in this room is connected to spirituality, that we are, I always say we are missionary of the light, missionary of creator of the light, of the matrix of creation. We are kind of bringing that light here. We are bringing that love. And even at the point that even when we're not meditating or we are not getting together with other people to be in a circle of love like we all love to do, just who we are, wherever we go, that energy of light is surrounding us and touching everyone that goes into our presence, because we are filled. Everyone has different level of light, and a lot of people on earth, through the pain and insecurity and the hardship that's going on to earth, the light has been kind of bit dimmed. And our light of us all, when we walk, and it reminds me when somebody had an NDE, he was out of his body. And as he was crossing the street with his spirit before going to the light, he realized that every houses that he was passing by, if somebody was angry and arguing, they would stop arguing. And so he realized that when we have anger and we pass in front of a house, a couple that was not doing anything, no, suddenly they start to argue, but they don't realize that energetically they are connecting with the energy of that person passing by. And so we're all interconnected. We're all a web of light. So we are bringing that light around us. We're bringing hope to the hopeless. We're on that mission of light and love in different form. That's what I feel it is. Someone has ability to see others people's life. But we all have, many people that come back from an NDE have suddenly all those supernatural gifts now. Some can see the future of people, some can see the past or can see past life, or there's all those beautiful gifts that can be given to humanity. I do feel that my purpose is to encourage people as much as I can to just stay focused on who we really are, beings of love and light, and not let the energy of depression and discouragement. We all have had traumatic events. I'm sure every one of us have had traumatic events in our life, and but we also can celebrate that this hard lesson has made us such beautiful spirit, all of us. So that's I want to share that I've been transformed, and my mission is to, whenever I can, encourage anyone. I'll do it. Beyond just focusing on self.
Yeah, and knowing you for a few years, those are not just words, that's how you live. That's what you do. Something popped into my mind though as well while you were talking. I know you're a fan of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
a couple of things you told me. You said when you were in the Crystal City, there were many, many different beings from many different planets there. And I think Star Trek reminded you of that because you have different beings from different planets all working together. And
what?
and, and one other thing is, a lot of different philosophies and religions say that the world is illusion. And after your experience, you said the Earth is like the holodeck on Star Trek, where you see people there. The holodeck is kind of a training place for anyone who doesn't know, and you have people who they're attacked by aliens or whatever, and then they're fighting the aliens and they're getting overpowered, and you're going, oh no, and then suddenly somebody turns off the holodeck. I said, okay, what did you learn from that? How are you going to take it differently next time?
Yeah.
But this is not the real world, and where you were is the real place. Anything you'd like to say about that, or have I said it accurate?
Yes, I did mention that because of course, of my first NDE with the spaceship. Now, after that, I was really into science fiction. And I don't know if everyone has seen Star Trek and that holodeck, where you enter that holodeck and you can program anything. For example, they are in space and they want to be in New York, so they program, and it's physically they look like they're still in that room, but it feels like they're in New York, and everything looked identically. And so I was just thinking that Earth maybe is like that. The difference is that when those Star Trek people are in the holodeck, they know they are playing a role in that holodeck. We don't know we are playing a role. Or we have forgotten it. We have taken the game to the next level. No, okay, let's go there without memory, and so and see if we can reconnect to love. And but it is true that it is, for me, especially the first time when I was with that spaceship, I did feel that that Earth existed, but in a in another realm and dimension of reality. It was not in the same reality as where I was. And what it reminded me was maybe the beings remind me of Star Trek when I had another, but I don't have time to tell here. When I was in that mother spaceship, and there was being with in a futurist, because when you have had an NDE, sometimes you have all kind of experience after that. You just so
I don't know
but
about that one. Maybe another time.
but what it reminded me was when I was in the spaceship. The Star Trek reminds me each time I saw Star Trek, and I even like the Orville. I don't know if anyone is a fan of science fiction, but the Orville, Orville, is actually like Star Trek, but with humor, and it's amazing. And so whenever I watch those series, and I see that the beginning when they put the generic with everything, the names in the beginning, you see the plane, the spaceship go in 1 second into a warp, and I'm like, oh yeah. So that reminds me of the experience. Yeah, yeah. And what was your first question? I don't remember.
I didn't ask a question. I was just saying I don't know about that other experience you had, but maybe that's for another day. So, would anybody like to ask a question? Raise your hand there.
I
Uh,
would like,
Hey, Veronique.
well,
Go ahead, Veronique.
yeah, because I'm sorry, I have to go after that, unfortunately. But thank you so much for sharing this amazing story. And well, I'm just curious, basically, if you were healed right away when you came back the second time after, you know, receiving all this energy from Jesus.
This is a very good question, Veronique. Because yes, I forgot to say it. I was healed completely after that experience. I never had arrhythmia ever again after that. Yeah.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Veronique, were you at IANS at some point or?
I was this past time, the last summer.
Yeah, because some people from the board of director IANS kept telling me, Yvonne, there's a French woman. Her name is Veronique. You need to meet her. And there were so many people, and I was trying. I said, oh my God! So I was looking at everyone's name tags to see, because I didn't know how you look like, and so I was wondering if it was you.
Amazing, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I didn't meet any other French speaker actually.
Oh,
And now that you mentioned that, I want to say it was absolutely amazing. And
wasn't it? Yeah.
Charlie knows I never experienced an NDE or anything resembling. Yet I got interested in the topic through Anita Morjani,
Yeah.
and I decided to go to IANS, you know, out of the blue, and I had the most incredible time, you know, there. So, and then I discovered Charlie's group, so here I am.
Here you are. Okay,
Well, nice
thank you.
meeting you online. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Veronique. And I should also say, Yvonne, you brought back healing abilities as well. You've done some incredible healings on people, and you've helped me with mine as well. So thank you for that. Anyone else got a question?
Anne?
Yes, I just wanted to say how I met Yvonne. We were at an IANS conference. I've been going to them since 1995, but now I have fibromyalgia, so I can't travel. But I still watch it on YouTube or Zoom or however they offer it. But I was at one of the conferences and we had this little dance event. They're always trying to offer parties so that we can
That's on Saturday night.
sort of social each other. And Yvonne was dancing, and I love to dance, and she was a beautiful dancer, you know, just physically gorgeous, but and dignified, but also glowing. And I just, it's like out of all the people in the room, I just couldn't take my eyes off of her.
I never
So,
knew that. I never knew that, Anne.
yeah, you didn't know. So I said I just have to meet that woman, you know. And I can't even remember if I actually met you that on that occasion. I might have said hello, you know, and we might have touched base. But um, I
And
just remember your presence was so elegant and divine and bright. I was just thrilled to be in your presence. And now that you say you brought back Jesus, it's like, oh, of course, I recognize Jesus right there.
Yeah, that's what I want to add. It's really God's light through me. I don't want to be boasting. Oh, it's me. It's really the divine light through me, work in at work. So I want to keep my ego low. But
Right,
thank you.
right. I could see it right off the bat. I didn't miss it. But I did have a question. You mentioned that when you were in the Crystal City, you saw beings from other planets. And wait a minute, my battery's running down. Why isn't it charging? I've got my computer on. Why isn't it charging? Anyhow, I sort of decided that in the heaven that Earth people go to, there aren't any beings from other planets because I've never heard a near-death experiencer report that they saw beings from other planets in our heaven.
I didn't say that I saw in the Crystal City. It may be a misunderstanding. Because I didn't go inside. I didn't remember going inside. I just said that my friend Sabine. Or I didn't say. I think what I meant was that there are being in from different type of forms of being, but I saw angels. I said in general there are many different beings, but I saw those angels. But I didn't say there were beings inside the planet that I did anyone understood that I said that there
I
were
think Billy said that.
did I say that there were other beings inside the heavenlies?
That was my
Inside,
understanding, not from this conversation, but from some other conversation we had.
Yeah, so I didn't say that here in the, I don't, and I apologize. That's not what I meant. And I'm very honest. What I said was that what I meant was that in the whole world, there's beings everywhere that exist. But
yes.
so I saw angels. So maybe when I said that, I said it after talking about that world, and people assume that it was in that world. But I want to rectify that. I haven't seen uh, beings from different planets in the Crystal City itself. So I
All right.
haven't to rectify that. Maybe when I talk to, I'm French as well. Sometimes it can be misunderstood, but I apologize if people think that I said that in heaven that in general there can be beings different, there are many type of beings in general, but I saw angels. That's how I feel. So I apologize.
No, I didn't hear you say that. I
I
heard,
apologize as well because I don't think I'm a very honest person. I'm always going to say how it is, and I don't remember that I said that in the heaven I went to, or but it's possible that there are beings from other planet even there. We don't know. Even if I didn't, we don't know. Uh, but I only saw angelic people there.
thank you
So
for clarifying that because I've never heard anybody say, and I've been studying them for 30 years,
yeah,
and I've never heard anybody say that they met beings from other planets in our heaven. So, and I heard another lady, she wasn't a near-death experiencer, but she communicated with her son on the other side. And he said there are different heavens for different planets, that each planet has its own heaven, and that Jesus is very important in our heaven, but
that's
maybe not in
great.
other heavens.
Yeah.
I think when I studied with the Holy Order of Mans, they were talking about that Jesus was in charge of our planet. that he actually contained our planet within his body, is how they understood it. But that just sort of seemed consistent with the fact that other planets might have other heavens. But I don't know, I just.
Yeah, but thank you for clarifying that, because I saw angelic beings. When Sabine was inside, she saw Mohammed, she saw all the sage, but she saw angels as well. I just said what I meant was there are many beings that exist, but the ones I saw were angels.
Yeah.
And maybe people assume that I meant in heaven, but I just meant in general, because we have many planets, many worlds, and many beings. That's what I meant. So I'm glad we are clarifying that point, because that's exactly what I meant. And thank you for clarifying your research. At IANS, we have so many people with different, have had different near-death experience in different realms. And putting that puzzle together is an amazing thing. Yeah.
And
Just to
the
mention
people,
for anyone who doesn't know what IANS is, it's the International Association of Near-Death Studies.
thank you.
Is there anybody else with a question there? Delphine, I see your hand up. You're muted. Uh,
You
Hi.
can unmute. Oh.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
there you are.
I think. Hi, hi, Yvonne. Yeah, yeah, so much in your story. Thank you very much. It's not so much a question, really. I was going to say just before you said um, that you had had enough, and you were, it's like, oh, I don't know what word you used, but it was, I'm ready to go now. I'm ready, and then you said it. I really felt. I was thinking, oh, Yvonne has had like many lives in just this one life, but it's still still ongoing. But at that stage, just when you said, oh, and that's when you had your first near death experience, and yeah, wow, a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And so many accomplishments. But the biggest thing for me is, yeah, all as Charlie was saying, that the love, like how it can really be felt, especially when you were talking about the experiences. But even now, like through when you're just your presence, but then all those experiences, I could really, yeah, feel it here in the heart chakra, and yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delphine. You are beautiful. You're a beautiful soul and you're a beautiful spirit. I can feel that vibration in you too, that same energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you.
I agree. Donna, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, it is. First, I just want to thank Yvonne for sharing her beautiful story, and you, Charlie, for making this possible. And I just want to just share a bit of what I got out of that. Well, first, I want to say that I don't know, were you a part of that group prayer that we did for my son?
No, I wasn't. No.
Maybe. Charlie, no? I don't know. I thought he was, but anyway,
It sounds, yes, yeah, I remember
okay.
something. Yeah.
Well, I just want to share that for many, I'm First Nations, but I'm also, my father is Caucasian, but my mother was Mi'kmaq from this territory here and where I live. And I was born Catholic. I was baptized, and I, my grandmother, she never came to church with us, but she used to send us to church. And so when we were young, so when I was young, I received all the Catholic sacraments except for confirmation. But when I came to my territory here, my mother's homeland, I learned about who we were as First Nations people and started taking on more of that kind of prayer life. And for many, many years, well, first of all, I have a son who's He'll be 35 in April. But for so many years, since he was 15, and I'm going to be 60 soon, in very many years, had addictions. And I just prayed for him. I went out sun dancing and fasting for years and years and years. And I just got so sad. Everybody prayed for him. Um, and just well, not just last year, but I mean, he was in a bad way last year, uh, and then also the year before. But the way even though we didn't raise him this way, we raised him in the sweat lodge and through ceremony. He he went to a Christian treatment center, and he's just really has accepted Jesus into his life, and that's the way he goes. And when like I was just listening to Yvonne when she was sharing about kind of the strictness, like if you don't do it this way or that way. And I really struggled with that at first. I thank Jesus every single day for saving my son.
Yeah.
And today he's with Jesus today, like in prayer today, and help, and sober and clean today. Um, but it's very strict. And so when I hear Yvonne share about all, prayer and all of this is good, and to have an open mind, I he wants us all to be saved, and I get where he's at, and I love him dearly, but I just felt a real uh, confusion about both of these ways, about traditional ways and the way I've been praying with this pipe all and sweat lodge all these years, and almost like it's bad, and in his eyes it is bad. And I pity him because when he was little, he was very spiritual and would pray with us in the lodge. But now, I mean, he's not, and it's okay. But it's like all of that was wiped clean from him, and now he's going this way. And I just, I'm just struggling with that part of it. That it's not uh, that it's almost like he can't be who he is,
Yeah.
or he can't have that part of him, or honor that part of him, because he just has to go this one way, and it was working for him. So I'm grateful. Oh my God, I'm so grateful, so grateful, because he struggled so long. But it's just like I just don't want him to forget who he is. And he's such a like the songs that he makes on the drum. He's such a beautiful drummer, but he's not allowed to drum anymore because of this. He makes these beautiful ceremonial songs, and they're just beautiful. But he doesn't make them anymore. Maybe someday he will. I don't know. I'll just pray, keep praying, trusting God that he is where he needs to be at this moment. But just the conflict there has really been confusing. But thank you, clarifying for me. I'm so grateful to you, Yvonne, and to you again, Charlie. And thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And it is true that we cannot throw all the Christianity teaching, because Jesus can still today connect with anyone who wants to connect with him on this earth. And that's also a way some people can be helped and delivered and of their fear. It's not just his time when he was there on earth. He's still existing and there to help with his love to anyone who wants, and to your son as well. So thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
I remember Peter Panagore telling me he was talking something about Jesus, and I had this historical character from the Bible in my mind. And Peter said to me, okay, you know how we don't really die, our body dies, but the spirit lives? And there, yeah. And he says, okay, so there's that being is still alive. And I
Yeah.
said, oh. Then a while later, I heard your experience, Yvonne, and I said, oh. But I talk to him every day, but I'm not a Christian, and I've no interest in being a Christian. I've gone back over the Gospels in the last year or two, and you know that thing he said about when I was a child, I saw as a child, and when I became an adult, I saw it as an adult, but I saw it with a whole new light. But I've no interest in being a Christian. However, in the last 6 or 8 months, okay, when I was a child, I was really into Native Americans. I felt I was one. I remember playing with my tribe in spirit, but that tribe has come back to me in spirit form. I was carrying so much guilt and shame without realizing it because in another lifetime I was their chief and they were killed and I couldn't save them. And a medicine man healer who comes to me and I've had attacks from different lower vibration beings, but I call Jesus and they're gone straight away. So I just tell the medicine man healer definitely wanted to come to me and work with me. And Yvonne, not Yvonne, sorry, Siobhan, who was interviewed a few months ago, I'd be in her house and she'd say, "Oh, your medicine man is after walking in the door." And they're, "Oh, okay," because I can't see him. But I could feel him putting his hands on my stomach and she could see him putting his hands on my stomach. But because of sort of negative experiences, I say anyone who's coming to me has to come through Jesus first. He's got to vet everybody. So they work together. They work together, but part of me as memory of that Native American lifetime and all the tribe came through to say it wasn't your fault, forgive yourself, we love you, and they were all around me, and it was beautiful. So don't really know where I'm going with this, but I can relate, Donna, somehow to what you're saying in some sort of way. I knew them as a child. I forgot about them, and they came back to me only in the last 6 months or so. But we all found our way. We find the way we need in the situation we're in.
True, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Anyone else? I can't see everybody. If anyone has their hand up. Um, okay, I'm not seeing any more hands up. So Yvonne, is there anything you'd like to say to
I think
finish up?
no. I see that Anne Francis said that she also loved indigenous ceremony. So that was nice.
Oh, thank you, Anne Francis. Yeah. And I love drumming sessions. I met Delphine at a spiritual community where there's something on every week, almost every week, but every 2 weeks we do a drumming ceremony and my medicine man healer comes in and he wants
Is
to
there
dance through me and everything, like I'm a shy person, but he's not. So
is there where you met Delphine?
yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any final
No,
anything
thank
you
you so much, Charlie. Anyone? Just just want to say thank you to everyone for listening, and I hope it brought you some encouragement and some love. That's my purpose. It's really to that the message is gone through and um, send you all my love.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yvonne, for giving us 2 hours of your time and all the preparation you went through. So thank you
You're
so much
welcome.
for being here.
So
And thank you everyone else who tuned in and everyone on YouTube and Facebook who's watching as well. So if people want to get in touch with you, is there any way?
yeah, uh, yeah. I never thought of that in general.
I just
Either
thought of it at the last minute.
they can either through Facebook or they can go to my website. It's called Live Heaven Now. Live Heaven Now. if they put that, it will come. And then at the end, there's a one page where you can send a message, and it's gonna go through my email or find me on Facebook.
All right. Thank you, Yvonne. And thank you, everybody.
Everyone.
I'm about to end the recording now.